and it is beyond alarming that last night the Rochdale by-election returned a candidate who dismisses the horror of what happened on October the 7th, who glorifies Hezbollah and is endorsed by Nick Griffin, the racist former leader of the BNP. Now, what he said was completely wrong and only plays into Putin's hands. This is a man who deployed nerve agents on the streets of Britain, who's doing deals with countries like North Korea.
Barely few days left for the 4th of July general elections, and attempts are already being made to deflect your attention from key issues. And now today, what is the mainstream media and every political party is discussing? Not the price rise, not the NHS situation, not the genocide which is happening in Gaza. It's the statement made by Nigel Farage about Russia and Ukraine war. What he said was that the West provoked Russia to attack Ukraine. Now, I have hundreds of differences with Nigel Farage, and I have said it time and again from my video on this channel. But on this issue, I think he is telling the truth. That's exactly what I have been saying. I mean, you only have to see, go back. I mean, your public memory is very short. Go back to the 6 months before the actual attack happened, and see the public discourse and see the statements being made by the Western leaders, including the Joker, Boris Johnson, and Joe Biden and other European leaders. Nothing was going to happen. We all knew that there was no plan for attack. But you pushed Russia to launch an attack in your quest to expand NATO and take NATO on the doorstep of Russia. So on this issue, you have to agree with him. Although I think that should not be the main issue of this election. But that has become the election issue because of how the mainstream media operates and how it's suiting the mainstream political parties so that they don't have to talk about what is happening in Gaza and the role that these political parties, mainstream political parties, have played in creating the situation that we are witnessing every day in Gaza and West Bank. As we speak, I think we should be discussing another act of genocide by Israel. We heard today that more than 40 people brutally murdered. I mean, there isn't a single day that goes by without Israel committing an act of genocide. But we are not discussing that. We are discussing what Nigel Farage said and the political fallout of his state.
When Vladimir Putin sent his troops across the border in 22, you blamed the West, not him. You said, I'll just read it to you and then you can react, that on a tweet, it was a consequence of EU and NATO expansion. Is that a judgment you stand by?
Right. I'll tell you what you don't know. I stood up in the European Parliament in 2014 and I said, and I quote, there will be a war in Ukraine. Why did I say that? It was obvious to me that the ever eastward expansion of NATO and the European Union was giving this man a reason to his Russian people to say they're coming for us again and to go to war.
But you were echoing him.
Sorry.
You were echoing him. That's what Putin says.
No. Sorry, I've been saying this actually since the 1990s. Ever since the fall of the wall. But hang on a second. We've provoked this war. It's, of course it's his fault. He's used what we've done as an excuse.
But we provoked the invasion of Ukraine.
Yes, and very interestingly, once again, 10 years ago when I predicted this, by the way, I'm the only person in British politics that predicted what would happen. And of course, everyone said I was a pariah for daring to suggest it. George Robertson, former Labour cabinet minister, who went on to become the Secretary General of NATO, has in the last couple of weeks said the war is a direct result of EU expansionism.
The political fallout of his statement actually exposes Rishi Sunak more and his Islamophobia and racism. I'm just playing two video statements of Rishi Sunak. The first statement, extraordinary address to the nation from outside the 10 Downing Street in the immediate aftermath of the Rochdale by-election result, which was won by George Galloway of Workers' Party. And remember, wherever this guy was, he flew all the way to make a speech from outside 10 Downing Street. And as I have said, that particular speech is often reserved for extraordinary moment, i.e. when you are taking oath, when you have become the Prime Minister, or when you are announcing your resignation, or when you are announcing the general elections, as he did. But not to react to your political adversary's election result. That's what he had done, and this is what he has said.
In recent weeks and months, we have seen a shocking increase in extremist disruption and criminality. What started as protests on our street has descended into intimidation, threats, and planned acts of violence. Jewish children fearful to wear their school uniform lest it reveal their identity. Muslim women abused in the street for the actions of a terrorist group they have no connection with. Now our democracy itself is a target. Council meetings and local events have been stormed. MPs do not feel safe in their homes. Long-standing parliamentary conventions have been upended because of safety concerns. And it is beyond alarming that last night the Rochdale by-election returned a candidate who dismisses the horror of what happened on October the 7th, who glorifies Hezbollah and is endorsed by Nick Griffin, the racist former leader of the BNP.
Now you see the language he had used, the beyond alarming and many more hard-hitting language that he had used in his 10 minutes long speech. I've only played a segment of it. Now what happens today? The Nigel Farage made a statement about Russia and Russia attacking Ukraine, which directly connects to UK because it's opposite to the foreign policy of this country. Because as we know that UK has been funding the Ukraine war. I mean, you don't have money to support NHS. Average waiting time for any consultation, whatever happens to you, regardless of the severity of your illness, average waiting time is 2 years. So if you have been diagnosed with some, let's say, knee problem, and your GP wants you to be seen by a specialist, from the time the GP refers you to a specialist to the time that the specialist actually sees you is 2 years. 2 years. I'm not exaggerating. If you are suffering from mental health problem, again, from the time that you have been referred to be seen by a mental health specialist or psychologist to the time that you actually get seen is 2 years. It's a joke, and you call yourself first world country, and yet this country has been splashing money. I mean, last we heard from Rishi Sunak was that he had allocated £3 billion. £3 billion. Do you realize that what could that £3 billion do in terms of turning around the waiting time for the NHS? But that doesn't matter to our politicians. So, on that Ukraine and Russia crisis, Nigel Farage makes a statement. And how does Rishi Sunak react? Listen to it.
Now, what he said was completely wrong and only plays into Putin's hands. This is a man who deployed nerve agents on the streets of Britain, who's doing deals with countries like North Korea, and this kind of appeasement is dangerous for Britain's security, the security of our allies that rely on us, and only emboldens Putin further.
No hard-hitting language, no beyond alarming. So that's what I'm saying, that the guy got enraged on 1st of March because how on earth a politician can win opposing the genocide in Gaza, the genocide that Rishi Sunak government and his regime has been supporting. And we knew and we have seen from various parliamentary debates and question and answer session that this guy, the way he has reacted to the Muslim MPs asking questions compared to the similar questions being asked by the non-Muslim MPs. And I have said that. I have shared those videos from this platform. That should be the alarming development. That if you look at the language and the tone that he uses to react to a normal election victory. That should be the normal process, right, of any democracy. But the way Rishi Sunak had reacted then to his reaction on a statement made by Nigel Farage, which directly contradicts to the foreign policy of this government. And do you even realize the potential consequences of provoking Russia to launch an attack on Ukraine and then providing weapons and arms and ammunition to Ukraine to fight this war? You are provoking a country which has the largest stockpile of nuclear weapons, even more than America. And UK is in its target range. UK has few hundreds of nuclear weapons. Russia has close to 6,000 nuclear weapons. And its intercontinental ballistic missiles are already pointed towards its potential enemies. How long will it take? How many bombs, God forbid, if that is the situation that we are pushed into, how many bombs would UK require to annihilate Russia, the largest country in the world in terms of area? And how many bombs, nuclear bombs, would Russia require to destroy UK, an island nation? Our politicians, these politicians, they are crazy. They are only driven by their self-interest. They don't care about the potential consequences on the population that they claim to serve. God forbid if that happens. Do you know if any one of us in this country is safe, regardless of our political ideology? Would you be even alive to discuss your political ideology? Think about it. It's about our survival and what is good for this country, what is good for those people living in this country. You must know that, right? You must know that. And that is the only intention of making this video, that you must see the true colors of your politicians, and that this guy has been ruling this country for the last 2 years. If that doesn't alarm you, nothing will. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so, because that's one of the many ways you can support independent journalism. God bless you all.